It's March 20th, 2021, and it's been a year since I did that very first warehousing shift with Redwigwam. So what I want to do is just take a moment just to look back on the past year. And it was not planned at all, but the music that's come up in my playlist seems quite apt, talking about it's been a little souvenir of a terrible year, which it has been. For any of you that didn't see, I'm just going to link into the video now and cut it in. And it just seemed all the more fitting that a very, very impromptu kind of video off the cuff in my car. The year later, I do one exactly the same. So I'm just on my break for what is effectively my new career, working in a warehouse. And I have to say, it is a culture shock. My God. I mean, for what I normally do, working, say, with GDPR, legal stuff, audit, training, to go back to manual work, I have got a newfound respect for anyone that has done this all their working life. It is hard work. My shoulder already hurts after a couple of hours of doing this. But it is very good. It's a very good way because you're not looking at your phone every 5 minutes. You're focused on what you're doing. It's actually a relief to be able to switch off from all of the news, social media nonsense that goes on. And as well, it's giving me a purpose. I feel I've got something to do. But what's more important, because it's for a supermarket, we are now, I believe, going to be classed as key workers. So we are keeping the whole system running. And if nothing else, that keeps me going, thinking, do you know what? I'm actually doing my part to help everyone out. So not ideal. I would have never in a million years thought I would see me working back in a warehouse to make ends meet, but you need to do what you can to get through this. That's my coping with coronavirus. I'd love to hear what some of you guys are doing if you're equally as resourceful and coming up with things. So a very, very kind of like off the cuff video, just talking about doing warehouse work and how tough it was. That got picked up just because for just how natural it was that I was just rambling away in my car, hence why I'm doing that again here now. But I mean, in all seriousness, it's been a year. We've learned to adapt to lockdown a lot better. We've changed how we work, how we behave, how we play, how we socialise. And it's just, for me, one of the things that I have learned this past year that I think are going to stay with us. Well, one, obviously the way we work, there's no question about it. Remote working, I don't think that was going to be something that was ever going to go away, but I just think it's accelerated that. Like, we're probably going to be heading that way in 10 years anyway. All COVID has done is just jump us forward 10 years. And I don't see companies wanting to get rid of remote working. The downside from that is industries like hotel, travel, all of these little like coffee shops and places that rely on footfall of people in town centres, I just don't think they're going to survive through this because they rely on people to be travelling. So I think what we've learned is you need to pivot your business to adapt to these changes. I mean, that's a kind of obvious one, so I wanted to start with your that. Business or what you do for a living, no matter how well protected you are, you still need those consumers and that business model coming in. I mean, you look at companies like Phones for You. That was a solid business model. Everyone wanted to get phones. However, what happened after that? Their main suppliers pulled them. So with no suppliers, you have no business model. And it's exactly the same for lockdown. What we're seeing is businesses that seem like they were viable, had customers, you throw a national pandemic into it, you stop people travelling, that's it. So it's made me very aware, never ever just feel too secure in your job. There are a million different factors that can come in and change it. And kind of leading on from that, I'm a lot more humble than I was a year ago. I never ever thought, like 20 years ago when I did my last warehouse shift, I would ever be back doing it. And yet there was a bit of smug superiority, like, oh, that work's beneath me. Again, throw in a global pandemic and I'm just like, do you know what? That work is not beneath me. It will get me a wage. It will keep a roof over my head. I'll do it. And just how difficult it was. I mean, I can still remember now the pain I was in. And I did a solid month after that. And I'm flat-footed, so I didn't realise. Wearing safety shoes all day, I had pains in my legs, pains in my shoulders. So again, very, very humbling that actually every bit of work that different people do is difficult and hard in its own way. So never be too judgmental of what people do for a job. Also, in line with being humble, I think just the way we engage, and I don't know if you have noticed this, with obviously the masks where we cover up, we're doing everything virtually, all our barriers are down, and you may have noticed this, you're communicating with people without that face-to-face interaction, and that, I don't know what you'd call it, but like the consequences. So if you're face-to-face in an office, you can shout at someone and you can be like vile to them. It could escalate into something physical. I'm not saying it always would, but there's that threat of that kind of holds you back. Whereas online, and this is what trolling is, people just do it because there's no fear of it. That's the negative side that we look at. You may have noticed the positive side, like the other way of this. We're chatting a lot more to people. You can actually build up friendships, like I definitely have over the last year. People that, okay, I wouldn't have normally talked to, I wouldn't have socialised as much, but we're socialising so much more, and we're doing it kind of like in a private way that no one else can see. We're being a lot more open, and we're being a lot more kind of like, just, we're not holding anything back. And what you're noticing is these really, really nice friendships can actually emerge because you're being so honest and open with one another. And I think that's a really positive thing to take away from lockdown, that the engagement side of things, especially for sales-based businesses, this can really improve that. So they're the kind of main things I've taken away from that. And it's weird to look back going, a year ago I was doing warehouse work, and a year before that, I mean, it was great. I had great work. I was doing auditing work. I was traveling up and down the country. I didn't see this ending. And within 8 months, one of the companies I worked for, they went bust and didn't pay us money. The pandemic hit, and it was like, my God, in a year, just how much things can change. So even now, a year later, it's interesting just to think about how much has changed since lockdown. We're hopefully coming out of it, but I think if we can draw some positives out of that, that'd be good. And I'd just like to say a big thank you. Today, I'm in a supermarket car park, still doing work for Redwigwam, so I'd just like to give a big shout out to them. They are one of the constants giving me work throughout lockdown, and if anything else, keeping me sane because it's something to do. The flexibility that they offer, absolutely brilliant, and I don't think I could have got through lockdown without them just throwing me the odd job here and there and me able to pick and choose what I wanted to do. So just like to say a big thank you to Redwigwam. Anyone else who isn't signed up with them, I would definitely recommend doing that. If you look down below, there should be some little link, or maybe it's up there. Who knows where it is when I post these videos, but click on that link, sign up. They're definitely a good company to get with.